What is going on, good people? Today we're going to talk about 13, yes, 13 fantasy sleepers that you need to know about before your fantasy drafts in 2025. All of these players are going to be outside the top 120 players. So without further ado, let's get into the video and let's start with Tyjae Spears. This one's simple for me. I believe Tyjae Spears is the better running back in the offense, and if he gets the opportunity, I think he can break out in 2025. For starters, we need to go back to 2023. Remember when Derrick Henry was still playing with the Titans? Remember that time? Far, far ago, far, far away in a galaxy. What am I even saying? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. There we go. During that season in 2023, Spears, who was essentially serving as the backup running back, ranked number 9 in targets, number 14 in yards per reception, number 11 in yards per route run, number 6 in yards per touch, number 26 in true yards per carry. The problem was that season, he never quite got enough dependable usage in the offense. Sure, there were moments like in week 5 against the Colts, 16.9 fantasy points, week 14 against Miami, 17.8 fantasy points, but nothing for fantasy gamers to really sink their teeth into. And 2024 was the season of injuries. He dealt with an ankle sprain, a hamstring strain, and 2 concussions throughout the season. I will admit that injuries are going to be a significant factor this season as well. And don't forget, Tyjae Spears is also playing with an ACL missing in one of his knees. But given his ADP, Spears is still a running back that profiles as a new age running back in the sense that he is smaller, he can catch passes out of the backfield. His ADP, in my opinion, would be higher if he was a different kind of player than Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard does a lot of what Tyjae Spears can do. And I would argue, like I said at the beginning, that Tyjae Spears is better and more efficient at it. Last season, Tony Pollard ranked number 40 in true yards per carry, number 30 in yards per reception, number 42 in yards per touch. And Spears started to show that he had that kind of upside that I'm talking about in the fantasy playoffs last year in weeks 15 through 17. Spears contributed in a major way. And if you had him in fantasy, you were very happy. In week 15 against the Bengals, 27.2 fantasy points. In week 16 against the Colts, 21.6 fantasy points. And week 17 against the Jaguars, 13.3 fantasy points. To be fair, Tony Pollard was dealing with an ankle injury during that time, but Spears saw the opportunity and made the most of it. And simply put, again, I reiterate, Tyjae Spears is the better running back, and this offense should be much improved with Cam Ward under center as opposed to Will Levis. Colston Loveland, and I'll make this one really quick. I'm going to zip through some of these. I mean, he's a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, Ben Johnson's first selection as a head coach. Sam Laporta had his breakout rookie season with Ben Johnson calling plays. Colston Loveland is a true freak at the tight end position. Not only does he have great size, but he can block. He can run really good routes. There's a reason he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. And I know some of you are going to say Colston Loveland is not a sleeper because he went in the top 10 in the NFL draft. But the thing is, he's going outside the first 10 rounds in fantasy drafts because the perception is, oh my God, the Bears room is crowded. Well, it's crowded for some people, like, Luther Burden, it's in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. It's crowded at the receiver position, but at the tight end position, Colston Loveland's very clearly the number one option there. So Colston Loveland for me is a smash pick where he's currently going at pick 123 currently. Let's talk about Javonte Williams, a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. The depth chart looks like this: Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa. Someone is going to emerge from this backfield as a productive running back for fantasy football. It may not be much, but Williams has put up back-to-back seasons as an RB3 in fantasy points per game. In 2024, he rushed the ball 139 times for 513 yards, caught 52 passes for 346 yards, and scored 4 total touchdowns. That's RB36. That's technically an RB3, even though we were very disappointed with that kind of production. The Cowboys are built as a team that is going to throw the ball a lot. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have George Pickens as their top 2 wide receivers. Williams has shown an ability to catch the ball to the backfield as a running back. He ranked number 5 amongst running backs in targets last year. The Cowboys also drafted Tyler Booker to replace Zach Martin along their offensive line, which admittedly was bad last season. It was number 25 amongst NFL teams according to PFF, but they were much better in pass protection than they were running the football. They tied for ninth towards the end of last season in PFF's pass blocking efficiency metric. And all of this points to the Dallas Cowboys just throwing the ball a ton. And to me, the player, the running back that fits that mold the best is Javonte Williams and has the most talent. Now, Jaden Blue is there. There have been mixed reports about Jaden Blue. He's certainly another option. If you don't like Javonte Williams, I'd say Jaden Blue is a fine pick too. But there is no other running back on this roster that has the experience that Javonte Williams has. And I don't think Miles Sanders is really a threat at this stage of his career. So I believe all roads lead us to Javonte Williams. Kyle Williams was a highly touted wide receiver coming into the NFL draft. He was drafted by the New England Patriots. His reception perception is good, and he has a chance to get on the field right away and produce for an offense that should be much improved this season. When you look at this offense in New England, we have Drake May entering year 2. We have a grown-up coaching staff. No more Gerard Mayo. Josh McDaniels calling plays, and Mike Vrabel at head coach. The offensive line is improved. Kyle Williams definitely has a chance to get on the field right away and produce, and he's been really, really good in training camp. He produced in college. He's one of the better route runners, in my opinion, in this class. So Kyle Williams at pick 135 is absolutely a pick that could pay off in a big way. Dylan Sampson at pick 141. Quinshon Judkins' situation has suddenly opened the door for a running back like Dylan Sampson. Just go look at what he did last year at Tennessee. It'll blow your mind. Jerome Ford is technically the starter, but he was inefficient last season. And you could argue that this is the reason why the Browns brought in not one, but 2 running backs in the NFL draft, because they weren't happy with Jerome Ford and the running back room that they had. So if Dylan Sampson can prove that he's more electric, which he is, then why wouldn't the Browns simply go to the rookie who they need to figure out what they have along their team anyway? They need to figure out who these guys are. Why wouldn't they give those opportunities that should have been going to Quinshon Judkins to Dylan Sampson? And it just makes all the sense in the world. I know Jerome Ford is going later, so if you like Jerome Ford, I suppose he's not a bad pick. But Dylan Sampson clearly has the most upside in this offense, which is going to run a lot of plays, and it's going to run the ball because that's what Kevin Stefanski has proven that he likes to do. Aside from last year, when he had Jerome Ford, they ranked 28th in rush attempts. The previous 2 years, they ranked 5th and 5th in total rush attempts in the NFL. Hunter Henry, ADP of 162. He finished number 5 amongst tight ends in targets last season with 98. More importantly, though, he ranked number 7 amongst tight ends in red zone targets last season. This New England offense, we've already talked about it. It's one of my favorite offenses to target because every facet, phase, whatever you want to say, of the team has been upgraded, from the coaching staff to the offensive line to the running backs to the pass catchers. But there's still plenty of room in this offense for targets. And Hunter Henry should be one of those guys that gets a lot more targets than people think. Sometimes targeting the tight end position is all about targeting a tight end that we think could get double-digit touchdowns. This is an offense that's going to be able to move the ball, and Hunter Henry is going to get peppered in the red zone from Drake May. I think this is a smash pick at his current ADP. Austin Ekeler. I know the flavor of the day for some people is Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, but Ekeler was getting it done last season and should still get his fair share of snaps in what should be a really good Commanders offense. I want pieces of this Commanders offense. Austin Ekeler last season ranked number 11 in target share amongst running backs. I do like Brian Robinson too at his ADP. I think Brian Robinson could be the hammer near the goal line that just gets a ton of touchdowns this year. But Austin Ekeler in PPR leagues is going far too late and is going to get a lot of targets out of the backfield. So Austin Ekeler, 163, that is a great value. Jalen McMillan at pick 168. Chris Godwin's already dealing with an injury, and we know Mike Evans missed time last year. McMillan has proven to be a capable wide receiver when called upon, and he was a savior in the fantasy playoffs. From weeks 14 to 17, he averaged 20 fantasy points per game, and I understand Emeka Egbuka is there. I really like Emeka Egbuka too, but if Godwin isn't healthy to start the season, or if Mike Evans misses time, it could be McMillan contributing in a major way, just like he did last year. He's already proven it. Emeka Egbuka, as much as we like him, he's still a rookie, so there may be some adjustment time, an adjustment period before he really starts to produce. Wan'Dale Robinson, pick 174 currently. I mean, not every target can go to Malik Neighbors, right? I mean, Robinson finished number 10 amongst wide receivers in targets last season, and not much has changed in the wide receiver room in New York. He's going to play the slot. He's going to be valuable in PPR leagues, and this guy's going to have a stable floor in terms of volume every single week. And the quarterback situation's much better. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart, I don't think you can argue that those guys aren't a significant upgrade over what the Giants had last year, and that's going to benefit Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm going to rant a little bit about Anthony Richardson because an ADP of 175 is absolutely preposterous for the kind of upside Anthony Richardson can bring to the position. He could be a real cheat code, and it's only going to cost you a 14th round pick. Sign me up. We've talked about Anthony Richardson before. This organization, the Colts, they want Richardson to win this quarterback battle. And if he does, Richardson has some great offensive pieces around him. Jonathan Taylor, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and the newly drafted Tyler Warren. Remember, his first 3 games in the NFL, Richardson averaged 23 fantasy points per game, 18.4 fantasy points per game if you include the game where he was hurt and missed the rest of the season. In 2024, the supposed terrible quarterback put up 4 games where he scored 20 fantasy points or more. That would be week 1, 27.4 fantasy points against Houston. Week 11, 28.1 fantasy points against the New York Jets. Week 13, 23.2 fantasy points against New England. And week 16, 21.2 fantasy points against Tennessee. In weeks 11 through 16, Richardson averaged 20.4 fantasy points per game. He missed the final 2 games with various back and foot injuries, but still, that kind of production, even if you get it for half the season, is worth a 14th round pick. So a lot of people like to compare Anthony Richardson to Trey Lance, but I don't think that that's a fair comparison considering Trey Lance, when he's attempted 18 passes or more in his career, during those games, he's averaged 15.9 fantasy points per game. And 3 of those games were with arguably the best play caller in the NFL, and that would be Kyle Shanahan. So let's please stop comparing Richardson to Trey Lance. Richardson has played a lot more than Trey Lance has at this stage of his career. And don't forget, Anthony Richardson is still really young. He's just 22 years old. For comparison, Cam Ward, who was the number 1 pick this year, also 22 years old. So please, let's stop rushing to judgment with some of these younger players and realize that even with a player like Josh Allen, it took time for a bigger, more physical type style of quarterback with, admittedly some accuracy issues. It took him some time to adjust to the NFL game. And Anthony Richardson in the 14th round, it's absolutely preposterous. Everybody in fantasy football is giving up on him. And I implore you, you should not give up on Anthony Richardson because he could be a league winner for you in 2025. And if it turns out to be a bust, great. You blew a 14th round pick. Who cares? Thornton Jr. This one's simple. He's 6'5", 205 pounds. He ran a 4.3 40-yard dash and is taking first-team reps in an offense that's desperate for a big play wide receiver. Chip Kelly is singing his praises to the media, and the training camp has been really good. So Thornton at pick 181 is definitely somebody you need to have on your radar. Mason Taylor, ADP 182. We have seen Justin Fields deliver a nice season for Cole Kmet, and there isn't much way in target competition for Mason Taylor in an offense with Garrett Wilson, really, and that's it. I mean, the current depth chart is Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, Malachi Corley at wide receiver. In the tight end depth chart, Mason Taylor, Jeremy Ruckert, and Stone Smart. It's not crazy to think that Taylor could get a 16, 17, 18, I even think a 19 or 20% target share right out of the gate due to the lack of consistent, reliable pass catchers in the offense. I mean, Cole Kmet had a 19.3% target share in a very similar situation in Chicago in 2023. Brashard Smith transitioned from being a wide receiver to a running back last year. Sound familiar? Tyrone Tracy. Great athletic profile. He produced in college. He had a 91 offensive grade, which was 6th amongst all FBS running backs in college, an 87.1 rushing grade, which was 26th amongst all FBS running backs, and a 91.9 receiving grade, which ranked number 2 amongst all FBS running backs. We know the Chiefs aren't afraid to play their late round guys. And if Brashard Smith carves out what used to be the Jerick McKinnon role in this offense, he could be super valuable in fantasy, and he has a ton of upside where he's currently going in fantasy drafts. And I'll give you one more. I didn't include it in my show sheet, so I'm just going to go off the cuff here. Kyle Monangai, he's going outside of the top 200, and in a running back room with DeAndre Swift, who, I mean, let's face it, DeAndre Smith does have some value in fantasy too. He's going to be the starter in that offense. But Kyle Monangai, if you look at how Ben Johnson used DeAndre Swift when he had him in 2022 with the Detroit Lions, he used him primarily as a pass catcher. And Kyle Monangai profiles as the Jamal Williams type running back that could take a lot of the in between the tackles carries, a lot of those carries inside the 20s, a lot of those carries, frankly, near the goal line. And it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out between him and Roschon Johnson. But it's absolutely possible that Kyle Monangai could take Roschon Johnson's job if he's not up to the task. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content. And until next time, be good, everybody. And we will see you later.